Hello to each and every one of you. We post accounts of people's near-death experiences that they have shared with us here at Logical-NDE. If you've never visited one of our videos before, we'd like to let you know that we make them with people with open minds who are interested in learning about the hereafter in view. Please help us out if you actually enjoy these kinds of tales by liking, sharing, and subscribing to our channel. This will allow you to keep up with all of our most recent offerings, such as this one. As for our regular viewers, let us begin rolling today's episode while you sit back and relax with your favorite beverage in your hand. Today's story comes from Mrs. Lorraine Sikens, who shares her near-death experience when she caught herself in a fire and passed out. In those 8 minutes, her soul escaped her body and she was shown the hell. It was the same 8 minutes that found Lorraine the true meaning to this world and our purpose in it. Let's dig into the story in Lorraine's own words. My name is Lorraine Sikens. On July 16th of the year 1997, I woke up way earlier than my usual time. It was to the sound of my 1-year-old crying loudly in her crib. I got up and decided that rather than waking up my husband, I should prepare her bottle myself. I picked up my daughter from her crib and carried her from our room. When I got to the kitchen, it was still dark outside. I settled Stacy, my daughter, on her chair as now she was wide awake, playing with a spoon. As the milk was heating, I chose to make myself a cup of coffee. As I was reaching for the coffee pot in the cabinet next to the stove, the hem of my nightdress caught some fire. I tried to extinguish it, but it didn't work. My daughter started panicking, and I screamed for my husband, who was alarmed and immediately reached for help with a blanket. He rolled me into it and tried to put out the fire. I remember as he was wrapping me in the blanket, and then I passed out. Several moments later, when I could still hear the sirens of the ambulance, I felt my body was moving against my will. I tried to make myself stop, but it was as if my entire self had gone limp, and I could do nothing to stop myself. When I opened my eyes, I felt like my body was soaring up in the air. I was being carried to a door that was held mid-air and a lot of light was coming out of it. I checked my body for scars and burn marks, but I had none. The intensity of the light leaking out of that door increased within a second, and I had to squint my eyes in order to not get blinded. I was scared at what might await me in that door. I tried to focus, and within a split of a minute, I realized that I had died, and that the light I was being carried towards was the light at the end of the tunnel. I thought of my little daughter Stacy and felt remorse inside me, but it was short-lived because by then I got pushed through the door inside. I was on the other side now. Even after hearing and reading so many things about the afterlife, being on that side came completely off the track to me. I felt nothing. I tried to feel some fear, some anguish, but there was nothing I could make myself feel. I thought of Stacy, but I had gone numb to any emotion. I tried to adjust myself to the darkness there. I was surprised by the bleakness of where I was because not more than a second ago, all the light of the universe had seemed to be leaking from this side of the door. I tried to make my way through the black when my feet caught something. I stooped down to see what it was, and it felt like a doorknob. I wondered how strange it was to have a door in the ground. I tried to push it inside to open it, but in vain. Then I tried to open it to my own side, and quite surprisingly, the door opened itself. I sat down to adjust my gaze, and right then, 2 hands appeared out of nowhere and dragged me down. As soon as I was inside, I got horrified by the views of that place. There was a huge fire inside where the people were screaming, howling, and rotting in pain. I got immediately cuffed to one of the trees and was made to watch it. The entire room smelled of petrol, as if someone had lit up all the petrol from the world to keep this fire ignited. I stayed chained to my place in a large field where a great fire burnt at one end and there were people waiting to be thrown in it on the other. I cried and writhed in pain as my iron chains were melting my skin underneath. The horrific screams of everyone around was making me dizzy, but I could not even blink. The whole place burned down, and I was being made to watch it. It was an entirely painful sight. I could see panic on everyone's face as they were being scurried by black-robed demons into the fire. Some of the people were being struck with hammers on their heads. Some were being given accounts of all the deeds they had committed in their lives. These people were to burn in hell forever. I still remember how I saw the fire eat up masses of humans and still not go down. It was as if the people being thrown in the fire were the fuel to it. I started reciting all the holy supplications that I knew. I yelped and shrieked as I burnt from the heat in the room. I could feel my scalp melting down into my hair. The heat was so intense. I prayed to God to forgive me and give me another chance. I prayed wholeheartedly, crying and bawling to God to not let me get thrown in the fire. Everything around me burned into ashes. Even the ashes were getting burned. People were constantly being pushed and dragged by the hair to the fire. There was a motion of chaos and utter madness everywhere. And then, without prior warning, the fire grew wild. I stared at it leaking from its boundaries as it made way to all the people who tried to escape it. My chains crankled when I tried to run away, but in vain. I had grown weak from all the places the metal had burnt me down. I was in no position to even move an inch. Suddenly, I felt the fire reach for me and everything around me lit up to go dark once again as I passed out. The next moment I woke up, I was surrounded by my husband and the paramedics. Someone shouted, "She's up, we've saved her." And I could see my husband rushing to my side, with tears leaking through his eyes. I tried to give him a smile. Fortunately, I had only gotten first-degree burns, and they could all get treated within a month's time. My healing period didn't take much time due to my burn marks, as much as I needed therapy for the near-death experience of mine. My therapist talked it out with me, and talking about it made me realize how much of a stronger person it had made me. I became a better mother in raising my children with the remembrance of God. I kept in mind the descriptions of the hellfire I saw, and it motivated me to live a life of lesser sins. My husband supported me throughout, and to this day, I am able to continue healing and adjusting in a phase that only revolves around the constant remembrance of the Almighty, for He's the only one who can save us from the horrors of the other world. That's all for today's episode, folks. Thank you for joining us. We hope that you thoroughly enjoyed today's episode with us. To share your thoughts regarding this latest video, do comment down below and let us have your valuable feedback. You can also support our channel by clicking the subscribe button and turning on your notifications so that you never miss any update from us. Until next time, stay blessed.